This illustration deals with the purpose of custom-made equipment. Now, we previously looked at listed and labeled equipment. Now, this is equipment that you can't pick up a catalog from any manufacturer or supplier and buy. Now, notice there's some loops that take place here. First of all, the NEC loop 90.7. This equipment is reviewed to make sure it's in good, safe operating condition. 110.3A deals with certain checks that are made on the equipment to make sure the equipment is in a safe operating conditions because it's custom made, and usually that's A1 through A8, I believe. And if you really reviewed 110.3 A1 through A8, it would take you as a designer, installer, a maintainer, inspector, it would take a good 8-hour course to go through that. In course B deals with the listing and labeling, 110.3B. Now 110.2 deals with the inspection of the equipment, and that, as we stated earlier, would be where the equipment would be inspected by the authority having jurisdiction. And they would look at this piece of equipment and say, well, this is custom made. So they may require through ordinances that that equipment would have to have a third-party inspection, or the inspector would have to take on that authority themselves in 90.4 of the code. Now, if this equipment was installed in a hazardous classified area, then 500.8A1 would be the section we would use. And the way I read that, if this custom-made equipment was done under owner's engineering judgment, then the equipment would be okay as long as the authority having jurisdiction okayed it. And in some cases, the engineer may be the authority having jurisdiction, depending on the location where the equipment is installed. Now, notice that's the NEC loop. Now, the other NEC rules would be the type of equipment, where it's installed, do we need additional information. For example, look at design by. We look at the NEC, and if that equipment happens to be, and we're just saying this, a custom-made piece of equipment that was an industrial control panel, then we'd go to Article 409 and apply those rules. We would look at UL 508 and apply those rules. I think 508A now has been combined with just UL 508, and the rules are in that standard. And then we may have to even pick up an ANSI C series standard to complete the information that was needed to design it. And if it happened to be industrial machine, we would even have to pick up NFPA 79. Now, the OSHA loop to start with is 1910.7, and that really gives a person all the information that they would need to know about a proven equipment, where it's listed or whatever it may be. OSHA 1910.303A now deals with the equipment being safe to operate without creating shock, death, damage, and that kind of thing. And to me, it kind of ties with 110.3A1 through 110.3A8. They kind of go together. Then OSHA 1910.399 coming out the gate would say, have a head, the very first one, acceptance of equipment. And it goes through custom-made equipment. It goes through a third-party certification equipment. Then it talks about listed and labeled equipment. And then for the equipment to completely comply with OSHA, we would go to OSHA rules 1910.302 through 308. Now, that ties exactly to the NEC, where everything is totally enclosed and there's not any openings or any way anyone could get into the exposed parts at 50 volts on up. 1910.303A now along with 1910-302, would refer you to the tables that deal with equipment. For example, the March 15th, 1972 table, if your equipment was installed before that date, it would grandfather with a few things in the table that would need to be fixed. Also, if your equipment was put in April 16th, 1981, all the equipment from that date would have to meet that table, and it has the things it's talking about there, such as medium voltage cables, class 1, 2, or 3 circuits, and that kind of thing. Now, 1910.303B1I through B1, say Roman numeral 8, would deal with exactly 110.3A1 through A8, except one is for safety operation of the equipment, while the other is the design and operation of the equipment. And then 1910.303, B as in boy, 2 should be referenced also. So our figure 1-25 lists standards that should be used for the purpose of custom-made equipment. That's what our figure 1-25 is illustrating, and there's plenty of information there so that you could begin to know what's required for custom-made equipment.